Hi, my name is Taylor Marion, and today I'm going to talk about leadership and the many theories that you can tell you if you are an effective leader or not. Today, the person that I chose to talk about is Cody Mills. Cody is my boyfriend of the year. I've known him for longer, but this year I've really gotten to know him and what kind of person he is. So, he has recently taken over his family's business, so he has had to step up and take a different kind of leadership role. So he has several employees underneath him, but it has been challenging, but he's learned what it takes to be an effective leader for his company. So, first we're going to talk about the trait theories. Trait theories focus on personal qualities and characteristics. So I could say he's funny and nice, but those don't really tell you what kind of leadership he has. So we're going to look at the Big Five personality model. He is an extrovert. He's outgoing and assertive. He is agreeable, so he is usually cooperative. He is highly conscientious, so he is responsible and disciplined, and also persistent. He has positive emotional stability, so he is calm and self-confident. And then he is open to experience, so he is very creative and curious. These all have important roles in leadership, but the most important for an effective leader are going to be being an extrovert, being highly conscientious, and being open to experience. Next, we have emotional intelligence. He is self-aware and he recognizes his own emotions. He also detects emotions in the others. He is empathetic and he can sense others' needs. With these traits, he can relate to his employees and let them know that he is an effective leader. So next we have behavioral theories, which suggest behaviors differentiate from non-leaders from the leaders from the non-leaders. So Ohio State studies, they pick 2 dimensions of behavior. The first is going to be initiating structures, and it's going to be consideration. So Cody is high in initiating structures, so he is likely to define the roles it takes to obtain the goals. And he is also high in consideration, so he treats others as equals. So later on, the University of Michigan Research Center, they also picked 2 dimensions of behavior and related them to the initiating structures and consideration. So that is employee oriented, which relates to consideration, and production oriented, which relates to the initiating structures, and Cody is both of those. So he is an effective leader because he likes to focus on employees' well-being and he likes to get things done at work. So next we're going to move to contingency theories. First we have the Fiedler model. He falls right in the middle, so he is both relationship and task oriented. So that makes him socio-independent. His performance is good in favorable, moderate, and unfavorable situations. For the situational leadership theory, this focuses on the followers. Leadership is achieved by selecting the right leadership style based on if the follower is ready or not. So, unable and willing, he's good at giving directions, so he is an effective leader in that. For the unable and willing, he does have high task orientation, so that helps compensate for the lack of ability. And he is relationship oriented, so that will help with the support. For the able and unwilling, he is high relationship, so he is good to offer support. For the able and willing, since he is so high in both of those, it might be a little harder for him to back off since the able and willing don't need much for them. So, for path goal theory, it is related to initiating structure and consideration from the behavior theory. It is the leader's job to provide followers with the information and support to reach goals. He is high in structure and consideration, so he uses both supportive and directive leadership. With the business that he's in, he's surrounded by older and more experienced employees, so supportive would probably be better because those employees might not like the directive as much because they do have more experience. Next, we're going to go to the contemporary theories of leadership. We have the leader-member exchange theory. It supports leaders' creation of the in-groups and out-groups. It says in the theory that employees in the in-groups, they have higher performance ratings and greater job satisfaction. So, Cody, he is employee-oriented, so he doesn't try to have an in-group because he likes to satisfy everybody. But it just so happens that he works in a small group with not very many people, so he does have an in-group. With charismatic leadership, this has to do with heroic and extraordinary leadership abilities. Cody has 3 and 4 of the characteristics. He has vision, he takes risk, and he is sensitive to followers' needs, but he does not have unconventional behavior. His great charisma, it helps the company reach the goals. So that will make him a very effective leader in charismatic leadership. So for transactional leadership, transactional leadership is combined from the Ohio State Studies of Behavior, the Fiedler's Model, and the Path-Goal Theory. Leaders in this leadership leads followers to goals by clarifying role and task requirements. So Cody's a transactional leader, so he leans more to the contingent reward leaders. He recognizes the accomplishments of the followers or his employees, and he issues the exchange of rewards for their effort. The next we have transformational leadership. This inspires employees to use their interests for the good of the organization. So he does use 2 of 4 of the I's. So he uses idealized influence, and this provides vision and gains respect and trust of the employees. He also uses individualized consideration. So this gives personal attention and treats the employees individually. So since he has a smaller business, transformational leadership really works well in small businesses, so this really helps him. He is a very good leader for for this leadership because he is transactional and transformational. If you are both, you are a very effective leader. So next on responsible leadership is authentic leadership. This is leaders who know who they are, what they believe in, and they act on those values. So Cody is very authentic. He is down to earth. He encourages communication between everybody. So this authenticity goes hand in hand with his charisma and his transformational leadership qualities. This also builds trust with his employees. So next we have ethical leadership. In this leadership, highly ethical standards, they are seen as more effective. So this theory, it brings ethical and charismatic leadership together. It's called socialized charismatic leadership. Being that it's charismatic as well, he displays ethical leadership. He treats with fairness, and he's very charismatic, so he definitely has ethical leadership. So next is servant leadership. This focuses on the needs of the followers and not your own. He's very empathetic and high in consideration, so he's empathetic and high in consideration, so he does focus on the needs of others. But with him taking over a new business, that he still has to focus on the needs of his own, so he can be a full servant leader. So we covered him, so now we're going to go to my leadership profile. So we're going to start with the trait theories. We have the Big 5 model. I am an extrovert, but I do have a little bit of introvert in me. I am assertive and social, but reserved. I have high agreeableness. I'm cooperative and too trusting. I have high conscientiousness, so I'm responsible and organized. I have low emotional stability, so I'm nervous and anxious sometimes and have negative thinking. And then I have low openness to experience because I really find comfort in the familiar. So based on these me being extroverted and conscientious, that helps me be an effective leader, but with me being low on openness to experience, that kind of knocks me down a little bit on being an effective leader. So next we have emotional intelligence. I am self-aware and I detect emotion in others. I'm very empathetic, so this really helps me relate to my followers. Next we have the behavioral theories. I would say that I am in between high and low on initiating structure. I do have assertiveness, but I'm more reserved. I'm high in consideration, so I like to help followers and be friendly. Since I am in between on initiating structure, since it is related to production oriented, I am in the middle on that as well. So I am highly employee oriented. So with this high consideration, my leadership should leave the followers more satisfied. So we move on to contingency theories. We have the Fiedler model. I have a high LPC score, so I am relationship oriented. I do perform best in moderate situational leadership. So next we move to situational leadership theory. For the unable and unwilling, I can be assertive, so I can give clear rules and directions. For the unable and willing, I am low task oriented, but I am high relationship oriented. For the able and unwilling, I do have high relationship orientation, so I can be supportive with that. For the able and willing, it's not going to bother me not to step back on giving out tasks, but it might be a little harder for me to step back on the support. So next is path goal theory. Since I am in between on initiating structure, my directive leadership is lower than my supportive leadership. I'm not the best at clarifying paths, but my supportive leadership can really help improve satisfaction. So moving on to the contemporary theories of leadership, we have the leader-member exchange theory. I do have an extroverted trait, so it's possible for me to create the in-group and out-group. I'm employee-oriented, so I will have relationships with my followers. For the charismatic leadership, I am more reserved and not very self-confident, so I don't really possess charismatic leadership. I do have vision, but I'm not really willing to take risks, so I can't lead my followers and with charismatic leadership, so I am not effective in that area. Moving to transactional leadership, this relates to behaviors. Since I'm in the middle of initiating structure, I lead with a passive management by exception. I am assertive, so I can intervene, but since I'm reserved, then I won't intervene unless there is a reason to. This isn't the worst, but it's still not considered the most effective. If I was more production oriented, I could be a more effective transactional leader. So moving to transformational leadership, I do use individualized consideration. This gives attention and treats employees individually. I am more relationship and employee oriented. So this, with it being 1 out of 4 of the transformational leadership styles, then I will be effective, but maybe not as much as I could be. So moving to responsible leadership, there's authentic leadership. I am 100% an authentic leader. I know who I am, I know what I believe in, and I act on those values. So by having authentic leadership, I do build trust with my followers. Moving to ethical leadership, I do possess ethical behavior because I set the moral tone for my followers. I do treat people with fairness, and I provide honest information. So, moving to servant leadership, I'm very empathetic, and I do have high consideration, so I use servant leadership. I will always put the needs of others before mine, so my followers will definitely be more satisfied and have better performance and deeper engagement. So we talked about both mine and Cody's leadership profiles. So while we have some of the same traits and behaviors and leadership styles, we do have many that are very different. We are both extroverts, agreeable, and we're both highly conscientious. But with his openness to experience, that will set him a little higher in his effectiveness on trait leadership. So we both have the same emotional intelligence, but for behavioral theory, Cody is high in structure, so that makes him high on being production oriented. I am in between, like I said, so that makes him able to focus on employees and accomplish the tasks, while I mainly just focus on the employees. These traits and behavioral differences set us up to be different with the rest of the theories, pretty much. With Cody being high on everything, it just really sets him up to be a more effective leader. One leadership quality that I wish I was more effective in would be the charismatic leadership, which he's very high in. It can be learned, so I could eventually learn that and be more effective to my followers. The two leadership theories that we both are effective in are authentic and ethical leadership. Those two play a big part in followers, and because that keeps the satisfaction and trust with them. So it is important to know what makes a good and effective leader. These tests and theories help identify the qualities it takes, and if you have the qualities that it takes to be one. Thank you.